What is up, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WP Workshop. I have a very quick topic today, but the challenge is pretty real. So, how to export all your WordPress content to Markdown. I mean, how to take your posts, pages, custom post types, whatever else you might have, export that to Markdown, and also don't miss any of the images, meaning how to end up with Markdown files that are actually usable. Yeah, this is how. Okay, so here's one of my sites. It has a lot of content, a lot of pages, a lot of posts, 200, more than 200 posts, and I want to export all that to Markdown. So the problem with the traditional way of exporting content from WordPress is that not all of your images will survive the export, and you might have some trouble, using that export later on. So why would you even want to do something like that? Why do you need Markdown files? So, to be honest, you don't need them for anything dealing with WordPress, but what if you want to move off from WordPress and migrate the site to maybe something like Astro or to some other static site framework or arrangement? So usually for that you will need those Markdown files, because those are the simplest way to manage written content and to move it between platforms. So yeah, without further ado, this is basically how you do it the simplest way possible. So you need two elements. The first element already comes by default in WordPress. So just go into Tools, Export, and hold on, this is not all. I know that this step is pretty basic, but we need it as the first phase of the Markdown conversion. So what you do in Export, all content, download, export file. This is it, very simple operation. So once you have that, the next element is this little tool. So this is a GitHub repo for something called WordPress export to Markdown. You couldn't name it any more clearly, right? So it's a very, very simple tool. What it will do is look through your export file, convert all that info, all that content to Markdown files, and it will also fetch any images that are needed, to make that content look right. And the cool part is that it doesn't need to authenticate with WordPress in any way. All it needs is the export file. So yeah, using it is pretty simple. So just for a quick demo, what I have here is a terminal window, which I will use to install the GitHub repo needed to execute this operation. The easiest way to do it would be to create some new folder on your desktop. So I just called mine this MDXP. And this is the folder where we're gonna place the Markdown export. So let's just access this folder through the terminal, just drag and drop, enter, and we are in the folder. The folder is quite empty right now, nothing in it, but we also have this export from WordPress in the XML format. So let's just maybe change the name to export, just to make it a bit easier, to include when we are calling the Markdown tool. Let's just drag and drop to the MDXP folder, and what we have to do now is pretty simple. So on the repo page, you're gonna find this little comment. Let's just grab it, let's copy and paste, let's execute. It's gonna do something, and I already have the repo installed. If it's the first time for you running this command, then this tool is gonna ask you to approve the installation, to maybe fetch some other elements needed to do this conversion. In that case, just, agree to whatever it's asking, and in the next stage, it's gonna ask you just to provide the path to WordPress export file. And in our case, pretty simple, it's just export XML. It's gonna ask you whether you want to put each post in its own folder. I think it's a good idea, so let's just agree. Add date prefix to posts, I think no. And organize posts into date folders, I also think no. And save images. As you can see, you have a couple of options, so just pick one, but I think the reason you are here is to get all the images as well, so all images. And now just, let's wait. You're gonna see that some output folder has already been created in here. Yeah, so let's just give it a minute and see what happens.
A few moments later.
Alright, and I am back. It says that it's all done, so let's check out the folder. Let's go into posts. Yeah, as you can see, we have lots of posts in here. Let's just click on one, and there's the Markdown file and the images directory with the images used in the post. Let's just check out this file, what it looks like. Yeah, it is a standard Markdown file. It even has some front matter here at the start. And this is all the content in here. You can see the images used in here. They reference back to the images directory, this one in here. So you can take any posts, export it that way and import them in some other solution maybe. Yeah, so that is it. That is how you take your WordPress content, export everything to Markdown, and then, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'm Karol. You can find me at wpwork.shop, and see you next time.